Thank you for joining Auto Network Reports. I'm your host, Roosevelt, and we have today Mr. Dave Bolt, TexGarage.com. He's out driving around in his automobiles, live streaming. He's not supposed to do that, but just kidding. He parked just for us.
Yeah,
Mr. Greg Morrison, Bumper to Bumper TV, and Valerie decided to stick her head up out of the sand, hanging out in Austin, Texas. Latino Traffic Reports. Well, as we all know, the Super Bowl is now over. My team didn't win because they weren't in it. It's kind of hard to win if you weren't in it. And everybody has had their opinion about the halftime show. Everybody's had their opinion about the commercials. And before we get into the two commercials that we want to take a look at today and talk about, please subscribe to each one of the panelists' social media sites. Give them some love. Also, if you know a male that's 30 years older, make sure he visits his urologist and get that PSA exam. I always say it's that little prick that could possibly save his life. So let's get right into the first commercial. See if I can make this work, which is this. Now, this one, I must say, it did surprise me when they aired it.
Longest thing we ever do is live our lives. But life doesn't come with an owner's manual. Might have been nice, huh? But that means we get to write our own stories. Freedom is yes, or no, or maybe. Freedom is for everybody, but it isn't free. It's earned. There are real heroes in the world, but not the ones in the movies. Real heroes are humble. They're not driven by pride. Pride is a terrible driver. Freedom is the roar of one man's engine and the silence of another's. Freedom is the ability to inspire. The most sacred thing in life isn't the path. It's the freedom to choose it. You don't have to be friends with someone to wave at him. We won't always agree on which way to go. But our differences can be our strength. So choose, but choose wisely. Choose what makes you happy. My friends, my family, my work make me happy. This Jeep makes me happy, even though my name is. That's my owner's manual. Get out there, write your own.
Now, I say that commercial surprised me because I hadn't read anything about Harrison Ford doing a Jeep spot for the Super Bowl. And I don't know whether you all did or not, but it was a well-kept secret. So that was a shocker to see him first doing a Jeep commercial. The other thing, it was a 2-minute commercial. Stellantis spent a lot of money on that. What do you guys think? You think it's going to make an impact?
I think after seeing that, because I didn't watch the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I'd given up watching the NFL after Colin Kaepernick's problems. But
you don't hold grudges, do you?
No, forever. I'm serious as a heart attack about that shit. But after seeing that and, having a conversation with Mike Koval at the Chicago Auto Show, it makes sense. Jeep is basically saying, we're out here, we're going to try to bring back our audience and also bring in a new one. And for Stellantis, it's money well spent because that company has basically been down in the dumps for so long. They needed something to get attention to the brand again. And Jeep owners are, reliable group, and they also bring in pretty loyal buyers. So it was a brilliant move because it wasn't right or left socially or politically, or however you want to call it. But it basically said, think about, and we all can agree to disagree without being disagreeable. And for Stellantis, it was a good move. With the new energy that they claim is happening at Auburn Hills, I think it's reflective of the different attitude you'll see coming out of that company very soon.
What do you think, Valerie?
I think I never connected Harrison Ford to the auto industry by his last name until this commercial. I like you. I am surprised, but I with the message more than anything. But I love it. Couldn't be more timely. Jeep is such a solid brand. I don't think anything's going to affect it positively. I mean, it's just there. People love it. Love Jeep. Jeep lovers adore Jeep. So, yeah. But I'm impressed. And yeah, I'm impressed. So yeah, good commercial in my view. But I have heard other folks. I heard some kickbacks. Some folks saying they were tired of seeing in the commercials there were too many old fogies, too many older celebrity featured in commercials. I don't know what that means.
Dave?
I was there's a, as you know, there's a automotive media Facebook site, and when another member of that posted this ad, I noted that for the money spent by Stellantis on 2 minutes of Super Bowl, they could have bought one heck of a lot of ink in community newspapers across the country, or a handful of major metropolitan papers across the country. I would have loved to have seen a 2-page spread on Super Bowl weekend in the sports section devoted to Jeep in the New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, the Seattle Daily, yada, yada. And for the 15 to 20 million that Jeep purportedly spent on the ad time or the broadcast time and the production, they could have bought a heck of a lot of 2-page spreads in a lot of newspapers. And an additional benefit of the newspaper reader seeing it would be that most newspaper readers would know who the hell Harrison Ford is. And in a lot of instances, my guess is TV viewers did not, or didn't have much in the way of recognition factor. It's nice sentiment. I appreciate that very much. But where Stellantis is at the moment, where Jeep is at the moment, I gotta think 15 to 20 million could have been spent more effectively targeting actual buyers, moving the metal rather than just moving a message.
So, as a Jeep owner, Dave, did it move you?
Well, let's be clear here, Roosevelt. My wife, the gal that does well, is the Jeep owner. I
Okay.
help her select it. I'll make the occasional trip to the service department with it, and I'll wash it. But she's the Jeep owner. But we've had a number of Jeeps in the family, and so at least tangentially, I'm connected with the brand, and I like all of that. The message, I like everything but the medium. I think Harrison Ford, despite his 80 plus years, has a nice way of communicating history because he's lived that history. You look at Jeep in World War II. Well, by God, Harrison Ford was born during World War II. But, in terms of moving the metal, I don't know. Jeep has some things upcoming, including the new Wagoneer S, and of which I think both you and Greg were on that trip, were you not?
Right.
Or
Yeah.
I didn't go to the Wagoneer trip.
I
I
was.
saw it in Chicago.
okay. So they've got some new things to talk about. To my way of thinking, you might be talking about the new stuff rather than a Wrangler, which is kind of an established product, and I think will, it'll get a specific number of buyers per year. It would get more buyers if they drop the ridiculously high prices on most trim levels of the Wagoneer. But I would have argued if you are going to spend that money on a Super Bowl broadcast, let's talk up the new stuff to a degree that they did not.
I would be interested in knowing how they're going to track these commercials. I've always been interested in how commercials are tracked.
You don't.
Everybody says you use an algorithm and you run some numbers and you can get a certain percentage of the people that did this and certain percentage of the people that did that. But I would be interested in knowing if the Jeep dealers are asking customers, how did you hear about us when they come into the dealership?
That is, that might be on some post-purchase survey, but I don't think it's typically asked of a customer. Based on my own walk-in on showrooms, I haven't heard that in a long, long time.
I know.
How did you hear about us? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's well, back in the day when you and I sold cars, that was one of the first questions you asked somebody. At least we
Right,
did.
right. And Valerie has a point, Roosevelt.
Go ahead,
'Cause
Dan. Go ahead,
she's
Valerie. I'm
motioning
sorry.
with her head.
Thank you. I just wanted to also add, as far as just the choice of Harrison Ford, and um, there were others. Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise were also featured during the Super Bowl, and all three of them have movies coming out. So maybe they're hoping to get some more leverage with that, because they're going to see a lot more. Well, obviously, seeing Harrison Ford right now with the Captain America ad. So anyway, I just thought to add that I'm sure was part of the thinking, to get a little more traction, because these guys are going to be out in public a lot.
Did you pick up on the swipe at Ford
Yeah.
by that?
Yes. Oh yeah.
And do you think that they really went after Harrison Ford because they were going to take a swipe at Ford and wanted Ford, wanted him, the
I
Ford
think that
last
was
name?
that was a bonus, because if the Jeep is shown anywhere in this Captain America movie, there's product placement dollars involved there. So it's, for them, they're getting double bang for the dollar, because they paid product placement to put the Jeep in the movie, and then they also take a dig at the competitor at Ford. It's a double win for them there. But I think Dave raises a very valid point, that a lot of, especially viewers who are under, say, 60, will have no idea who Harrison Ford is, unless they're Star Wars fans. And Super Bowl ads are basically an extension of corporate ego. You create a 2-minute ad, spend all this money on it, you put it on YouTube, and pray and hope that folks will click on it and talk about it and generate some conversation about it, trying to raise awareness of the brand.
Yeah, I think they do it far more for the agency, I think, and their egos than they do for actually moving metal.
I think the halftime show probably got more press than any of the ads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. It sure did, because it's in social media, people are still arguing over who said what and who did what. I don't care. None of it affects the way I live.
Mm-hmm.
But it really didn't dawn on me. There were only 2 auto commercials this year in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them were Stellantis. So they really had no competition to go up against for all that airtime.
Well, and in the same Facebook post, Roosevelt, it was noted by the person that posted the ad that Super Bowl advertising is very effective. When I suggested you spend that $20 million on local newsprint, or at least major metro newsprint, he suggested, well, Super Bowl ads are far more effective. And I'd frankly like to see how that could be proven, because I don't think it is.
See, that's my question. How do you prove that it was effective? To me, effectiveness means somebody can document that a person came in and said that I want to take a look at this because of the Super Bowl ad.
Yeah.
Now, most people will say, well, if they're in marketing or advertising, the first thing that they're going to say, well, it's a combination of a lot of different things. They may have seen the print, they may have heard it on radio, they may have seen it on TV, and they may have watched the Super Bowl and seen it. Or a friend had a car and they just happened to be going into a Jeep dealer to buy a Jeep, not because they saw the Super Bowl ad. But
right.
I always like to get into the weeds. Ask the person that's coming into the dealership, how did you hear about us? Take some time. If they said, I saw this, this, and this, that's fine. You can check off all of those because you ran those ads. Go ahead, Valerie.
Oh, I was just going to say I was about to search that, but the Super Bowl ads have gotten so much publicity and popularism that there must be some effectiveness. And how can you charge what they charge if they weren't effective? Is it just the fact that there's numbers and you're going to have a captive audience of so many million? But the Super Bowl ads have done more than just charge a lot. They've created their own following. And you do see, so they're all part of the hype of the Super Bowl now. People tune in, I know, just to watch the ads because there's more creativity. They're looking for some surprises or whatever. So they're definitely very effective at promoting themselves. But I also think, could they charge what they charge if the advertisers were not seeing return on that investment?
It's the size of the audience. And I go back to when the internet got to be popular and the car companies found, oh, there are a lot of people on the internet and I can run ads. I remember specifically having many conversations with Volvo because they were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars back then to advertise Volvos on the internet. And after a couple of years of doing that, the reason they did it initially was the size of the audience. That was the first thing. There's just, you have millions and millions of people. Somebody out there is going to be interested in seeing our ad. Fast forward, after a couple of years of them spending that money and finding out that those ads did not generate the kind of sales and activity that they thought, they cut back to almost no spending. So I think the Super Bowl has, they have a huge audience.
Roosevelt, how many minutes could Stellantis have bought if they came to you with $15 million?
The rest of my life. Rephrase it, the rest of all of our lives.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real about it. It's a numbers game, as you say. And as I keep arguing, a lot of these ad placements are ego ads, ego placements. We've got this much money to blow on a 2-minute spot in the Super Bowl. And I have to agree with Dave about how that money could have been used more effectively or equally as effectively in other media. Because that's a one and done, maybe on YouTube for a while, and for maybe a month or so, folks will remember it. But how many Super Bowl ads do you really remember that have stuck out? Do you remember when Paul Harvey did the voice? They took Paul Harvey's voice and did a voiceover for Jeep. Do you remember the ad from several years ago when the dot-coms were going crazy and they were talking about one company having money, this patient coming into the hospital because he had money coming out of his backside? Come on, folks. No one cares.
I remember Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson, and that's the only thing I remember.
Yeah,
Super Bowls.
Yeah. So you see my point. It's not memorable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Val.
Go ahead.
No, I just did a Google, and according to the AI overview, that Super Bowl ads can be effective at increasing brand awareness, demand, and some studies show that Super Bowl ads can be profitable with a positive return. The only caveat is not when two like products are competing. So if you have 2 beer ads or 2 car ads, which maybe was part of the deal with Jeep to say we're the only ones, when you have 2 brands competing, then that kind of cancels out the advantage of the Super Bowl ad. So just wanted to add that.
But in nowhere in there did they say sales.
Yeah, they're saying that's they did say that. I mean, I was trying to find that, but sales.
Yeah, I mean it's brand awareness. Okay, brand awareness. That's not sales. Jeep's been around forever. A lot of people know about Jeep. A lot of people probably don't. But I think most people, if you ask, have you heard of Jeep? They're going to say yeah, especially older people.
It did say it increases demand. They've shown
that's
among women.
Yeah.
So
they still haven't to the bottom line. But anyway, before we run out of time here, we have 3 recalls. Ford's recalling 72,000 vehicles. The rear camera has a problem. It's on the Expedition, the Super Duty. The Lincoln Corsair, Dave, you have a problem when you're sitting in with the rear camera?
Seriously?
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed that, Roosevelt.
And the cause is unknown, and there is no fix yet.
Well, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Okay, I know. Yeah. And
so let me get this straight. They're going to recall the car, but they don't have a fix for it. So what are you supposed to do while your car is sitting, waiting for, during the recall?
Ask Dave in the green room. He can tell you how that goes. Okay, the next one, GMC is recalling 71,000 vehicles, part of the grill could come off while you're driving. So you really don't want that to happen. That's the 2022 model year. And last but not least, who is this? Oh, Tacoma pickups, 106,000. Brake fluid leak could increase crash risk. And as I always say, go to NHTSA.gov, enter your 17-digit VIN number to see if your car is a vehicle that's under recall. If it is, make an appointment with your local dealer, take it in, and be nice.
What year Tacoma we're talking about?
Tacoma is 2024 through 2025.
Oops.
So the
Recent.
new one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oops. Did I do that?
Yeah, you did that. But anyway, let's go into, let's see if I can pull up the next commercial here. What did I do with it? Oh, there it is. What did I do with it?
Did you lose your mind? No.
Did I miss it? I'm gonna have to start it over. I think I took it out of the share the screen. But anyway, let's go back in here. That's what I hate, just software. You can't do multiple share the screens, which makes this a little challenging. But I can handle it. I can handle it. Here we go. Up.
Once
Hit the
upon
start
a time,
button.
there was a girl with
There we
golden
go.
locks. You know what? Maybe it was like a rugged, woodsy dude. Yeah, too hard, too soft, too... This Goldilocks wanted something tastier.
Those look just right.
First, he drove the Ram 2500 Rebel to pick up some dinner. Ow!
Tastes like chicken.
Next, he took the Ram Charger deep into the woods to flex his artistic muscles. Then he fired up the Ram RHO for a little joyride.
I know, Glenn! What about the three bears?
This is my story.
But yeah, the bears were there. And they all lived happily ever after. Sort of.
Now, this one I couldn't identify with the actor because I didn't know who the devil that was. I could identify with the story, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And I think from all the action that the actor was doing, it fits right into Ram being an active vehicle. Kind of extreme. I don't think people are going to have their Rams jumping through fire and all that good stuff. Overall, you think this was effective for Ram?
Not for women.
What?
Well, I think women because of Glenn Powell. That's who that dude is, and
Oh.
he got on. He's been the flavor of the month. He was in Top Gun Maverick, and anyway, I can't remember his later movies. But yeah, I think it's a good truck ad, I guess, and it was funny, you know.
But you know, Valerie, as you know, in Texas, a lot of women drive trucks. So what would that ad have to have for you to say, "Oh, this appeals to us"?
There's another Ram ad, and JJ Watt is the spokesperson, and that was much more appealing to me. And it's all about JJ, and so it has more of a like caring message or whatever that women like. But yeah, he's talking about the toughness of the Ram. I mean, he doesn't really focus so much on that, but I mean the Ram is featured, and so there's another way of presenting it. This was well, because, and I think women would not like this one because you start off with Goldilocks. It's like, so Goldilocks is no good. So we need a boy to do this job, right? To be the Goldilocks. So that's okay, that's already, it's, wrong step for, for women anyway. But you're right. A lot of women. So it could just be me. So maybe let's just say it didn't appeal to me. It may very, very well appeal to the Texas woman who would buy a truck like Glenn Powell.
Yeah, I like it was entertaining, but the reality of it is the majority of people who own Ram trucks or any of these trucks do not take them that seriously off road or do that kind of extreme driving. 90% of the time, these guys are on pavement or gravel roads at worst. So, yeah, I mean, that's again a bit of hubris. See, our truck can do this, that, and the other. How many people really put their trucks through that? Most truck owners I know actually take care of their vehicles because they use them for work. They want them to last not 5 years. They're looking 10 to 15 years to get out of these vehicles. So, that's again an exercise in hubris as far as I'm concerned.
I would
Go ahead, Dave.
go ahead, Bruce. Well, I was just going to say I would have saved that script for when Ram inevitably introduces a mid-sized truck. So you could have a baby, a mama, and a papa, and feature all three in that context rather than just three. Well, you've got a heavy duty, but really it's three variants of a full-size truck. So they're all papas. And so that I think is why I would have done it. I didn't recognize the actor either. And it's not like I have to recognize the actor, but I guess I pay better attention if I recognize the actor. So if you've got a name that I don't identify with, you could have hired me to do that ad. I can wear a wig. In fact, I should wear a wig.
Don't
No,
be so hard on yourself, man.
he's definitely reached a heartthrob status. So sorry y'all didn't know him, but a lot of women were gushing over this guy during the summer.
I've had heart surgery. I'll talk to my cardiologist.
We talk about how drivers treat their vehicles. And I was just thinking back of all the trucks that I have seen recently, how many were really dirty? I mean, rarely do I see a truck covered in mud.
Mm-hmm.
You may see a little spray off the back from the rear fenders from the road, but I don't see the mud all on the windows and like somebody really took this thing in some serious off-roading, like I think Greg mentioned earlier, gravel roads, and that's about it.
But if you're in rural Texas and it's a work truck and you've got a ranch or a farm, it probably does pretty dirty. So I think that's really it's all about not literally what you're going to do with this truck, that you could if you wanted to. But I think also, but then again, going into we're all city folk, but if we go into a more rural environment, that's definitely what you see their trucks doing. It's certainly getting dirty.
I always go back a lot of times on the show, we talk about what people should be buying, could buy, wants and needs. And the fact that, your truck can go off-road and go through 2 feet of mud and tow or tear your house down, paying for those capabilities is not how you maintain your bank account.
With luxury trucks or heavy-duty off-road trucks approaching 80, 90 grand from a window sticker standpoint, I am even more committed to the notion of buying what you need and not what you want when you're looking at purchase prices that used to be able to buy you a small, suburban house.
Yeah.
I know that dates me, but still, when you're approaching 6 figures for a truck that is essentially a limited use vehicle, it just kind of blows my mind.
Now, when you saw the Jeep commercial, what competitor did you think about?
Bronco.
What about the Ram?
Or any of the 1500 series trucks, half-ton trucks, of the late Titan, the F-150, the Silverado. There's competitors out there. And, we got to look at it this way. Truck owners, like Valerie points out, especially if you work on a ranch or a farm, they keep those things for a long time. Now, the folks who just buy a truck just to say, I've got a truck and it's pretty, but it's all dressed up all the time and rarely gets dirty, that's where it falls into Dave's point of criticism. It's like, it's more about, I've got more money than sense.
Well, from selling cars, if you sold somebody a truck, it was almost an all-day experience because you had so many options to go through and most of the truck buyers knew what they wanted. And it took you a long time to spec out a truck. It's not like going and get a sedan. You have this little package and that little package. Oh, we have one on the back lot. Let me go bring it up. No, truck owners, they have all kinds of specifications that they're looking for. Whether they can take it off-road or whether it's the heavy-duty work truck or not, it takes a long time. And that's why a lot of sales departments have truck specialists that can dedicate the time to selling to a truck owner, because they command a lot of the salesperson's time if you're trying to sell them a vehicle. But go ahead. Who's next?
I agree with you. That makes absolute sense for specialty items like a truck. But in reality, Valerie can probably give me a better answer on this than any of us, since she lives in Texas. What percentage of the trucks that are sold are actually put to work for their intended purpose versus just, flexing statements?
Well, good. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I'm sure we can Google that.
Yeah.
I bet it's a 50-50. There's a whole lot of empty space in Texas. So as much, I bet it's a 50-50.
Well, we'll be on ride and drives coming up, I'm sure, with Jeep.
What amazes me is that, and I'm going to have to conclude here, but what amazes me is you've got these typical subscription services or short-term rental services that, are kind of commuter-oriented cars for city folk that might not otherwise own a car. To my way of thinking, it's the big pickup trucks that you ought to be able to rent for a few hours, because inevitably the only time frame you need a full-size pickup for is for a few hours. I've got some things to move from a storage unit. I'd like to rent a pickup. I sure as heck don't need to own a pickup. So let me do that relatively inexpensively. And I know the car rental agencies have those. But to my way of thinking, people are driving pickups 30 days a month, 365 days a year. And in all likelihood, they need that capability maybe 3 days a month. And for the rest of it, they could be driving a Nissan Kicks or a Hyundai Kona or anything else that you'd care to mention. And on that note, I'm going to wish all of you a good week. I've got a grandson to pick up. Bye-bye.
Give him our best.
See you, Dave. Well, on that note, I think we have covered our half hour. I hope you enjoyed Auto Network Reports. As always, please subscribe to one of the social media or all the social media sites of the panelists. As I said earlier, and I'll mention again because this is getting to be a serious problem out there, health issues. If you know a male that's 30 years or older, please make sure he visits his urologist, get that PSA exam. It's that little prick that could possibly save his life. As always, please buckle up, don't drink and drive. Buckle up, don't text and drive. See you next time.
Y'all be good.
Thank you. Good seeing you.